My name is Justin, and I am a child of God and an addict. And thanks to my God, the steps, and the fellowship of other addicts, I'm sober one day at a time since June 19th, 2015. And for that, I am beyond grateful. Welcome to the RICO 12 speaker meeting. We are an organization whose addictions include alcohol, drugs, lust, and sex, food, and gambling, just to name a few. We come together from all places, faiths, and backgrounds to learn the similarities of addiction and to gain tools and hope from others who are walking a similar path. We invite recovering addicts with at least 1 year sobriety and who are actively working their recovery in their respective fellowships to share their experience, strength, and hope on a live Zoom webinar each Friday at noon Central Time for 20 to 25 minutes. Then we, the live audience, get the opportunity to ask questions of that speaker for another 20 to 25 minutes. If you're hearing this meeting in recorded podcast form and would like to participate as a live audience member in the future, please go to www.reco12.com. That's RECO12.com to learn more and to submit your email address there to receive weekly invitations. RICO 12 is a self-supporting service, and we appreciate your help in keeping us working our 12th step in this manner. We gratefully accept contributions to help cover the cost of the Zoom platform, podcast platform, web hosting, and administrative costs. To contribute, you can go to reco12.com/support, or you can click the link to PayPal that will be in the chat of the live meeting and in the show notes of the podcast. When you contribute, please specify the meeting number. This is meeting number 57. Last week's meeting was with Mary H., and she spoke on the freedom of living in recovery, and her message was moving. And while it was a recorded meeting and not live because of travel things that were going on, it was still very powerful. If you missed hearing that very good meeting or any other meeting we have done, you can listen to them in podcast form by searching for RICO 12 Speaker Meeting Podcast on virtually any podcast platform that you use. Or you can go to RICO 12 website and find it under the link podcast. Now, a quick favor to those of you who may be listening to this podcast recorded, please hit pause right now and go and rate and review RICO 12 on your podcast platform. It really helps us get this message out to more addicts who suffer and who want diverse speakers about their own experiences, strength, and hope. One more word about our speakers before we introduce today's speaker. When we line up someone to speak in one of these meetings, we ask them to seek guidance on what and how to present so that they can reflect the light that they have been given. That light will inspire hope, meaning, worth, and growth in us, the listening audience. Now let's introduce our guest speaker for today, Kevin M., who will be speaking to us on the topic entitled Slow the Game Down. Now, this sounds like it'll be a great follow-up to Mike C's topic from a few weeks ago, which was urgency is the enemy of recovery. Now, here's a little bit about Kevin. Kevin is known as the Dean of Arizona High School Sports, hosting the #1 rated weekly radio program. This after a 40-year career as a sports broadcaster that included 10 years working on the sidelines for the NFL on Fox. As a personal aside, I grew up in Arizona in the 80s and 90s, and Kevin was a staple in my sports life in the Valley from my youth and young adulthood. I am excited to hear his story. And one day at a time, he will be celebrating his sobriety by picking up his 6-year chip on July 11th. It's Kevin M. Kevin, the floor is yours. Take it away.
Thanks, Justin. I am Kevin, and I'm an alcoholic, and I used a lot of drugs. And I had a lot of other demons as well, as you mentioned. So many that, but it all derived from my love for alcohol and drugs to keep that going. As Justin mentioned, I was kind of a big deal. I joke to people that if you've seen the movie Anchorman, that was me. And my kid's dad, it's really funny. And I said, no, it's not. It was really kind of my life story. You know, I thought I was a big deal and thought it, I was cool and hip and better than everybody else. And come to realize that's what I did and not who I was. And I had a great fun career in sports. And I would probably still be doing it if I would have surrendered maybe earlier in my life. But I was stubborn. I like drinking. I like the effects of it. I like the effects of drinking so much that I would use drugs to enhance that even more. And I talked to an old friend, an old sports producer recently, and I said, when I made my amends to him, and he said, I don't think it hurt you, but it certainly didn't help that I was an alcoholic during those days. But as Justin mentioned, I'll celebrate, God willing, 6 years 7-Eleven on Sunday. And I joke with people 7-Eleven because I bought so much booze and alcohol at 7-Eleven. But then I come to think of that I bought booze at every bar. I had it at every Circle K, every new totem, and waited for drug dealers out in front of 7-Eleven. So there's no special significance other than it was the day that I surrendered and realized that I had a problem. I joke, I've been drunk my whole life. I was born Irish Catholic and blessed with those genes. And my mom told the story and showed with my kids when we were teething, she would rub whiskey or scotch on my gums to soothe the. So I've been drinking since I was an infant, probably before I had breast milk. But I really, actually, I wasn't. I wasn't a drinker growing up. I was an athlete. I was like a hockey player, a weird hockey player in Arizona. Weird in a lot of different ways. But I went to Canada my junior year of high school to play junior hockey, and all the players went out drinking at the bars that night, and I got drunk, and I tasted alcohol, didn't really like it, and ended up throwing up. And the reason I remember this is I ended up throwing up and passing out because I had this really cool linen shirt. It was back in the Miami Vice days when, you open to here with the chest hairs and the gold chains. And so I threw up on the shirt and I just threw it in my hockey bag. And when I got cut 2 weeks later, it was still in my hockey bag. And not only was it ruined, it smelled pretty bad. So I probably should have known then that I had a problem or allergic reaction to alcohol. It just wasn't work. I went on to college at Northern Arizona University and played college hockey and drank like most college kids and hockey players do, and enjoyed a great career in drinking. And then I was fortunate enough to get into the sports broadcasting field when I got out of college. And it's really exciting because this was a time when there were only 3 networks, NBC, ABC, and CBS. And there were basically only 2 jobs for what I did, a weekday guy and a weekend guy. And so it was really tough. There was no ESPN had just started. They were doing monster truckles and there was no Fox. There was nothing. So, but I was fortunate to get into the business and really enjoyed a great career. And actually broadcasting the evening news. Back in those days, young people actually watched the evening news. There was no TikTok and no cell phones. You couldn't get your news. So you waited for Kevin M at the 6 and 10 o'clock news. So I was anchorman. I was kind of a big deal. But it fed my lifestyle of drinking and drugging because you would do the news at 6 and have dinner and then do the news live at 10 o'clock and get off the news at 10:30. And while most jobs, you work 8 to 5 and you taper down, at 2 o'clock, you're kind of done and taper down and you're done at 5. News business, you raced until 10 o'clock, did this show and you're up and geeked up. And I'd like to say it was a reason to calm down was go drink, but we would drink after bad shows. We would drink after good shows. We broke a story. We would drink on Christmas, we would drink. It could be Arbor Day. We went and drank, but it really fed my career, fed my lifestyle of drinking, the career that I was in sports broadcasting. And I was fortunate. I worked about 30 years in sports broadcasting and enjoyed great success while drinking. And I joke, and I don't joke. I realize now when I got in trouble, every time I drank, I didn't get in trouble, but every time I got in trouble, I had been drinking, and that's DUIs and that's infidelity and just everything. But I had a great career. I covered Super Bowls, Final Fours, the Suns and the Bulls in 1993, Michael Jordan, Charles Barkley, World Series. As Justin mentioned, I worked for the NFL on Fox. I was a sideline reporter. I laugh now. If I had got my sobriety earlier, I'd probably still be doing. You'd still be doing sidelines. And I said, no, they hire pretty young people to do that, pretty young girls, and I'm none of those. So, but it was great. I had a wonderful life in broadcasting. I got married and had 5 kids, and I was not LDS. I was not Catholic. I just like kids and love my wife. But the drinking progressed. It got really bad. And I have great stories. That's the shame, the cunning, baffling, powerful of this is I remember the great stories. I remember, running with Charles Barkley and running to Las Vegas and gambling. And I thought I needed a drink to hang with him. And, or Luis Gonzalez, we had to, I thought drinking enhanced how good of a sportscaster I could be. I would travel with teams, the Coyotes, or we get on a plane and, they would serve dinner and, what would you like to drink? And there was plenty of it. The Cardinals, when I first started traveling with the Arizona Cardinals in the NFL, you would get on a plane and there would be 2 beers in every player's seat after a game. And you quickly learned who didn't drink. And, you friend up with them so you'd get their beers, and everybody brought booze on it. And it was just a mess. But I loved it. I mean, I really genuinely loved it. And there's a great book, and I say that's a great book. It's not a promotional thing. Tim Cowlishaw of the Dallas Morning News wrote a book called Drunk on Sports. And it really kind of parallels my life story of all the teams, going to games, traveling, airports, everything that involved alcohol. And so I see, and I tell people it's like a 2-bathroom read. So it's not like, I'm not like giving you a book that's going to, oh my God, I've got to read War and Peace. It's pretty entertaining. Talks about he actually shared, similar experiences with Charles Barkley, running with Sir Charles. And not that Charles has a drinking problem. Charles has a fun problem. He just loves having fun. But Tim had a drinking problem, and I think he's got 11 years coming up here, and he's documented that. But in 2008, the wheels really started to come off. I was enjoying great success, but the economy bottomed out, and I was not re-signed in broadcasting. And I sat for about 3 years waiting for that phone to ring and waiting to get back into broadcasting. And I drank, and as I said, I drank. When I introduce myself, I say I'm Kevin and I'm an alcoholic. I don't know if I was an addict, but I'll take it. Give me some royalty. I use drugs to enhance and so I could drink more or sober myself up or lie to my wife. So, listen, I think I speak for a lot of people. That's just part of my story. But I really sat, I dabbled in some radio work and tried to keep things afloat in my family, but really was waiting for the TV job to open up, and the economy just didn't allow it. And I was making a lot of money. Not a lot of money, and not millions. So don't, oh my God, he's a million. But I was making, a handsome living, and it shut off. And I had 5 kids and mouths to feed. So I spent all of my 401k. I lost my house finally, and I think I still owe the IRS about $90,000. So it's one of my amends that I'm slowly paying back. But it really bottomed out. I really hit rock bottom. But I wasn't done yet. I got a job. I reinvented myself. I got out of broadcasting and got into business development and marketing and sales. And this was even worse than broadcasting, because sales, it just fed my drinking. Even, you had lunch meetings that involved alcohol. You had happy hours. It was, it just, everything involved drinking. And I thought, I'm a great salesman because I'm drinking. I was a great broadcaster because I got and I'd had DUIs back when they weren't popular. But I got a DUI in 2012 coming home from a Christmas party with the media company that I worked for, and from their party. And I thought, I've screwed this up. And I didn't. I faked and lied and my way around it. And I didn't think I had a problem drinking. I just thought I had a problem drinking and driving. And that's how stupid this mind is. And I, continued to work. I went to AA only to get the paper signed. And again, I didn't really think I had a drinking problem. Listening to you, I didn't, I was not you. And then in 2014, the wheels continued to, I went back out drinking, and they continued to, like you've heard so many times, the disease continued to take hold of me. And my game was just going so fast. Everything was going so fast. And my wife had really had it with me, and she and the kid, she was done. They were done with me. They were done. And I thought initially, if I just brought home money, that everything would be fine. Well, no, there's so much more responsibility into being a dad and a husband and a father. And so I told her, I said, okay, I'll do this for you. I'll quit drinking. I'll show you. And so I did. I quit drinking for 90 days, and I got 3 chips. And I went in. I said, I'm going to do this. I'm going to back it up. And I did it till the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. Got my 90-day chip, and I thought I was cured. And I proved to my wife that I can stop drinking. But as we all know, that wasn't it. So I went back out Thanksgiving, 2014, and I don't really remember anything until maybe early 2015. And I went and had my hip replaced during this time. I won't get graphic on this, but I had my hip replaced. I'm an old guy. So, and 2 weeks out of it, I went to a game with my buddies, and I was drinking, and I knew the hip was healing. I felt great. Loaded up on oxys to keep the pain away. And I took a pedicab to my car because, I didn't want to walk more on it. And I'm drinking and driving. And as I get to my car, I hopped out of the pedicab, a foot out of this pedicab, and my femur broke, and the post that for my hip replacement pops out. And I think I've really screwed this up. So I asked the guy who drove the pedicab, I said, could you help me into my car? I drive home, 2 more Bud Lights and 8 Advil and a few more Oxys, and I sleep on this and could have died. And probably should have died. And I wasn't, it just went in and had emergency surgery. They put the post in there and wrapped it in rebarb, and spent plenty of time in rehab coming out. And I realized, I think I have a problem drinking. I think I need to slow this game down. So I did. But this time I did it for me. I did it for Kevin. I said, I've got a problem. I can't stop drinking. So I went to AA. I thankfully I didn't have to go to detox or rehab, although I believe in those. I believe they're an opportunity to start the process. But I went into AA, and I did 90 and 90. You told me to do 90 and 90 meetings in 90 days. And I laugh because I don't do anything 90 days in a row, other than breathe. And I don't think I even drank 90 straight days, but I'm not even sure I would like to have sex 90 straight days. And okay, maybe. I did 90 and 90. Well, I said, you know what? I said, I'll do 30 and 30 and we'll figure it out. I did 30, then I did 60, then I did 90. And I said, well, what do I do now? And they said, well, just keep coming back. And okay. Most important thing I did is I got a sponsor, and I got a great sponsor. I mean, I'm so lucky, God, my higher power blessed me with the greatest sponsor, because he took me through the book at a pace that fit me and slowed everything down for me. Had he told me, let's do this in 2 weeks, I want you to do your 4th step in 2 weeks, and 5th step and 8th and 9th, and I would have said, peace out. No, but we went through the process over about 9 months, and I finally realized all the demons in my life. And I laugh in the book. He said, read the book, and we would go through chapters. And I said, finally got to chapter 8, I believe it is, it's 2 wives. And I said, well, I don't even need to read this one because and I don't like reading, period. If you told me that I had to read a book and we'll give you $1 million, I'll get around to it. But I get to chapter 8, and it's 2 wives, and I said, well, I don't need to read this. And I read it, and it was actually probably the most telling chapter in the book, because it told me all the whirlwind that I'd caused. And during this time, these 9 months, I started getting little God shots, man. And I really started to dig this thing. And I started going to meetings and hearing the similarities. And I laugh because I would go to meetings and I'm still judgmental. I mean, I'm an alcoholic, and I would go to meetings, and some of these meetings I go to, I said, if you want what we have and are willing to go to any length. I didn't want what they had. Some of them are miserable, and they probably needed to drink. But in every one of those meetings, I heard something. God spoke to me through those people, and I heard my story. And I even laughed. I was at a meeting one time. I was miserable listening to people like me. All right, get to the point, Kevin. And this young girl is like 18, 19 years old, come up to me, and she just said, first I said, "What are you doing here? You're 18. You've got 40 years of drinking ahead of you before you can." She said, "No, I'm you. We have nothing in common except I'm you." And she said, "Kevin, I can't. He can. Just let him. Just let him." And I did. And I started to get, and I always say this, I started to get my life back, but I didn't get my life back because people say, "I really want my life." No, 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 no. I don't. I don't want that life back. There was a lot of fun in it. I told you, it was running with the great games and teams and travel and for all. It was great. It was fun. But I don't want, and that's the lure of alcohol. But I don't want that life back. I don't want the DUI. I don't want my wife with the kissalizer when I'd come home at night and, "Have you been drinking?" No, no, no. And she'd give me a kiss, and she knew she could read my blood alcohol level through that kiss. But I've gotten a new life back out of this, a total new life. And I love it. And God's rewarded me, my God. And I say my God because we talk about God so much in this. And my higher power, he is not the God of my upbringing. He's the God of my understanding. And they're two different cats. And this cat, my God, is so cool. And he believes in me and trusts me and shows me the way. Now, occasionally, Kevin, it's not Kevin's Anonymous. It's AA. I'll still think I can do it my way, and I pay the consequences for that, make my amends. But he's my co-pilot, man, and I really dig my life that I have. I'm blessed that my wife stayed with me 31 years. My 5 kids, and actually, as I was talking right now, my daughter just FaceTimed me. Ellie, because she wants to work out at lunchtime, and they like Dad, they dig, and we joke about the show that I took them through. It was bad, it was really bad, but I am able to be a beacon for them, to lead them and show them, and they're going to make mistakes. I mean, they're kids, they're going to make mistakes, but I'm so much at peace now. I'm so much at peace. And I say that, but I still have, I wake up in the morning and the hamsters are already going. They're telling me what I need to do today. And if I don't have this done by next week, and the voices still haunt me and the anxiety. But when I start to worry about tomorrow, or I look back at what I didn't do yesterday, I just turn it over. I turn it over and say, my higher power, I say, "God, slow this all down. Slow the game down for me." And that's what, I like the Suns, my Phoenix Suns that I got a chance to cover, and Barkley and KJ and Tom Chambers and Richard Dumas. I ran into Richard Dumas. Some of you never really heard of him. He played for the Suns NBA Finals team, and he's fought demons his whole life. He's one of the greatest basketball players ever, and you can look him up. Ran into him, and we Rex Chapman. We all share a lot of we have nothing in common. I can't shoot a basketball or dunk a basketball like those guys, but we have the demons, and we fought addiction, and they're both. We smile and we look at each other, and it's a really good feeling. But somebody asked me. They said the Phoenix Suns are on the verge of winning their first championship ever, and they said, "Kevin, don't you wish you were there?" And I said, "No, I really like where I'm at right now. I like my game. And the whole premise of this is I really wish I could have slowed the game down earlier." And obviously so many of us say that and say, "God, why didn't I do this? Why didn't I do this when I was 35? Why didn't I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready. I was not ready." And we aren't until I'm ready. I had to surrender, and the surrender thing, I struggled with that. I struggled so much because I was an athlete. I worked around athletes. I watched them compete. They like to win. I like to win. I was in broadcasting. I wanted to have the story first. I wanted to get the interview first. I wanted to be on the news first. I wanted to win, but I've come to realize by surrendering, I don't lose, that I do win. I win everything back in my life. And ultimately, um, I realized this in telling this story of slowing the game down. And I'm so glad I'm able to, and I'm able to enjoy this time of my life. I've been fortunate. I still get to do a radio show that is part of my 12 step. I used to do sports because it pumped me up and pumped up my ego, pumped my tires. You know, when I did a story and, oh, you're the greatest. Um, I've covered Arizona high school sports for 41 years. So I get to share their stories of the past, of where are they now, and the young kids today, and celebrate their stories. And I get to hear the genuine love and passion and the excitement in their voices and with their parents. So that, I love that. That's selfish on me. I go to meetings because I want to be selfish. I need to take care of I want to keep the game slow. I'm an old man. It's like an old car that it starts running a little clunky. You need to go get the oil changed or the spark plugs. I need to go to a meeting, and I still do. And I laugh because I'm going to have 6 years on Sunday. And when I first went in and I said, no, what? I'm getting my 5-year chip. What the hell are you still doing here? I'm getting my 24-year chip. What is wrong with you? Why are you? And I get that point now, that this is something the rest of my life, that I need to go and get my oil changed, and look forward to getting my chip. Slowing the game down. This was the ultimate, and what it put in perspective for me. It was about 10 years ago. I've done a bunch of name dropping in this, and I don't know Tom Brady at all, but I'm at a dinner, one of these galas, and there's Tom Brady's parents sitting at the same table with me. And they're calling him Tommy Brady. Tommy's doing this, and Tommy. I'm going, who is Tommy they're talking about? And they go, our son. I go, it's Tom Brady. And I said, oh my God, he's really a special talent. And they said, I said, how long is he going to play? This is 10 years ago. I said, how long is he going to play? And they said, he's going to play forever. I said, what? And they said, the game is finally slowed down for him. The game is finally slowed down. He has seen every defense. He's been in every situation in the NFL. He's been challenged by everything. Now he's changed teams and still is the GOAT, or one of the GOATs. And because the game has slowed down for him. Now, I don't compare myself to Tom Brady, but that's how I lead my life right now. And even my kids, my daughter's just graduated college and has a great career as a CPA, and she wants to leave her one of the big four and go to work for a bank. And I said, slow the game down, slow down. You don't need to, because we're taught that at a young age. When I get this job, then I'll buy this BMW. When I get that job, I'll move there. When I get this job, I'll get married. When I'll do this, I just need to worry about slowing the game down today for me. And when that happens, it'll happen. But I love the life I have through Alcoholics Anonymous, the friends I have. I've got the greatest sponsor. He's the greatest cat. I've got the greatest God of my understanding. I choose to call him Jesus Christ because I love his story of overcoming and hate and the challenges he went through. But I hope you had some fun listening to my stories. There was a speaker at a meeting recently. He got up and spoke, and he was an uneducated truck driver from Iowa. Farmer, truck driver, and driven in the snow. And I got up afterwards and I said, man, you and I have nothing in common except everything. And we do. We fight this disease. We fight it every day. And I learned if you stop fighting, if you just surrender, it's a whole lot easier. The game's a lot slower. If I don't fight, then there's nobody fighting me. So I thank you so much for your time. I genuinely do. For listening to my story. If it inspires you, if you laughed a little bit, if you see that this disease shows no prejudice, from a truck driver in Iowa to anchorman, it works. I hope that maybe you're driving in your car, or you're headed wherever you're headed, and you just say, let's slow the game down. Let's slow it down and take the next step. And the next step is doing the right thing. So I thank you so much. I'll turn it back over to Justin, and I wish you all Godspeed in this journey as we trudge it together.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kevin. Great story. I appreciate your time in sharing that. And before we get to the questions, we've had some come in, and I've written down a few here. And but before we get to those questions, could you take about 60 seconds and just share a little bit about how AA helps you personally in your daily life?
In everything I do, I can't get up in the morning and hit my knees and pray, because my knees are so up from being 62 years old and a former hockey player. But I do get up in the morning and have my procedures of quiet time. And the book says through prayer and meditation, not through prayer or meditation. So I try to find time to do that and seek some solace on how I'm going to slow the day down and make things work. I was overwhelmed today. I woke up today and I had so many things to do. And I said, no, this is the most important thing for me, is to share my story with you and also listen and to listen. God gave me 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. I need to listen more, but I'm a broadcaster and that's what we do. But it helps me in every way, through work, through my kids, through my family. The tools it has given me in everything I do, I am so thankful in everything I do. And sometimes I don't always use them. I can fix this myself. No. And then my God turns over to I make plans and God laughs at me. That's how my day begins. I'm going to do this, and really? Okay. You go ahead, Kev. So that's how it helps me. I love AA. Used to have people say that, and I love AA, and I shut up. I love AA.
Love it. Thank you for sharing that, Kevin. All right, we'll get to the questions here. If anybody in the live audience has questions, you can type them in the Q&A link at the bottom of your screen. Just click on that and type in the question. First question is from one of our live audience members, Ryan. He says, Kevin, thank you for your story. First, happy birthday in 2 days. I will be singing happy birthday for you on Sunday. Now, can you talk about what it took to have the humility to let go and seek recovery? And then the next follow-up question is, can you talk about the change from needing it but not wanting recovery to wanting recovery?
Yeah, great question, because I have a massive ego, and so succumbing to this, surrendering to this was really hard. It was, I can beat this. And I think that's part of my story and for many is, I'll go figure this out. When I first went into AA, I thought, just show me how I can drink a little and just show me. But I've come to learn it's so much more than it's the thinking and not just the drinking. But I was going to learn how to do it. People even ask me, they go, hey, Kevin, you still taking those AA classes? Yeah, AA classes, and there's no graduation. It's like the Hotel California. You can check out, but you can never leave. But I just think through the process of going and listening and hearing other people's stories, the word hope, I sit in my meetings and the word hope is in front of me. Hear other people's experiences. And they may not be the same. One of my dear friends who texts me every other morning, and by the way, thank you for your note. In 2 days, I'll celebrate my birthday. And he texted me this morning and he said, hey, just 2 more days, DFIU, don't it up. And there's not that. That's not going to happen. But now wanting it, and that's a great, because needing it, I don't know if I never needed it, but I think wanting it is, and I become selfish with it. I want this, and that's part of my ego too. I'm selfish and they say you've got to become selfless, and I am. I give and I give and I give, and I love it. But I am selfish in the things that I do that helps my AA. And that is going to meetings. That is working with others. That is not drinking. Yeah. And just carrying the message in everything that I do. So it was hard. It was hard. Yeah. It's, but it's a great question you ask, because it's hard, especially when you're taught a certain way to win and ego, and you're going to be you want to be, and I've found that completely different is the way that I've been successful and that I'm winning. So great question.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Now, I've got a question here that I've heard a lot of people say to me and to others who struggle with addiction. These are quote unquote normies that ask this question. So many think that having a loving spouse and loving that spouse and having kids and loving those kids and those kids loving you would be enough to stay sober. Why is that not the case? And tell us a little bit about your experience with that.
Oh man, yeah. I remember my son asking me once. This was when he's 16 now, my youngest, and so this is maybe 4 or 5, maybe no 6 years ago before I got sober, because said he said is your drinking more important than us? He said this, like he's 10 years old, and I'm going, yeah, it is. Who thinks this way? But let's put this into perspective for me. There's a woman who is in our meetings, and she had a baby, and I would think that having a baby is the most cherished thing that any woman could do. I would think, and I've seen, the mother-child relationship, and it's been documented. And she put that on the line for her drinking and meth use, and she cast aside a child. And so that tells you how freaking powerful this really is. That, and I still know it. I know it's still out there. I'm playing golf in Arizona. I could probably just have a couple of beers here. Eating a steak. If I just had a glass of wine, and somebody joked the other day. They said, if I could drink like a normie, I would drink every day. And I said, that's kind of why we're here. Because if I could drink like a normie, I would drink every day. No, it's hard. And it's so powerful. I've known people very close to me, and especially with the new addiction, the young kid addiction of heroin and meth and fentanyl. And mine was a I want to say a happy drunk. No, that was mean sometimes, but mine was a celebratory party. I was the party guy. Let's go drink. Let's go. Yeah. Okay. I'll drive. Let's go. This fentanyl and heroin and meth is a whole different animal because it's so dark. The lifestyle of doing it, and then 4 hours waking up in your own vomit and throw up and go poop and going, I got to do this again. So that's a whole different kind of powerful. But it's still, I feel for anyone who battles any of these addictions. I have people close to me who've battled eating addictions, and it's funny when I talk to them because the control, and they find, I did show up early on in my sobriety. I was looking up meetings on that. I'll go to this one. I show up and I'm sitting there, and it was a sex addiction. And I didn't stay. So, but I understand this now, though, that there's so many different addictions. So if any of these open your eyes, and that is just turning it over, surrendering, and I think you'll find some peace and growth with it.
Thank you. All right, I've got another question for you here, Kevin. So now that you're, not drinking, you're sober. How do you now go about and schmooze? How do you do these types of things in your daily life where you're meeting with others? And how do you do that and maintain your sobriety and find success in those situations?
Another great question, because you think, oh my God, I'm going to quit drinking and they're not going to like me. No, they don't. They really don't. They don't care. They don't care. I'll have a Diet Coke, or I'm good. I'm drinking water. They really don't care. Misery loves company, genuinely. If they have a drinking problem, they want to drag somebody with them. And I have friends who do that. I try to separate myself from those situations. But no, I come to realize that I am so much stronger and better. It got really bad for me at the end. It got really bad where, I would show up at events, and I'd have to have a couple of drinks before I got there, and I just felt the anxiety, and get six or seven drinks into it and be really sloppy, and I don't think that wasn't sexy. I mean, that wasn't going to a cocktail party and having a glass of wine and standing there all night with one glass. That's not getting sloppy, ugly, drunk, even mean, is not good. So I have no problem with it now. I actually wear my sobriety on my sleeve, and that's part of it too. I think the ego that I have, the success that I have, challenges me not to drink, because I live this life and I go to meetings and I share my story. If I succumbed, what kind of message would I be sending to the other alcoholic? And I know there's a chance it can happen. I get it. It's hard. I get it. But that's part of my new ego, and that I am selfishly doing it for me to make me a better person and not drinking. And people see it, man. They see it. This, Justin, they loved you. They love you. And you tell these people too, yeah, I quit. I had a drinking problem. No, we knew. We're glad. We're really glad, McCabe. We're really glad you're not drinking. So, no, good question. It's finding a new way of living, a new playground, a new sandbox and you'll see that as you progress in this road of happy destiny, you find what works and what doesn't work. But I think there's a respect that I still reach out to the athletes. I've talked to someone. Two quick stories, because I'm a name drop here. One was I ran into Mike Tyson here recently. It was a few years ago, and he was sitting in a bar here in Chandler. And I had done a lot of boxing. I had done international pay-per-view, and there's Mike, and hey, what's up, champ? Hey, Kevin, what's happening, man? Come on, and I'm with my son, and my son comes always, hey, Mike, he goes, come join me for lunch. I said, no, we're gonna cruise. BJ's at the Chandler Mall, so can't make this up. And so we leave there, and my son goes, Dad, you know who that was? I said, yeah. And he goes, that's the guy in The Hangover. And so it kind of put all this stuff in perspective. People are who they are. They're friends. That's what they do. Charles is they'll ask me, Dad, isn't that your friend? And isn't that fat guy on TV your friend? And Charles will call me, hey, Chuck, are you skinny or are you fat? And he says, oh, I'm fat. I'm definitely, but I still have relationships that I built over the years, the trust that I had in those people. And if they don't, it doesn't bother me either. So I made a long story out of that. I am wearing my Pat Tillman shirt today too. And I told Justin the story beforehand that Pat was always a dear friend and an inspiration now, but Pat was a knucklehead. Pat has become a hero through what he did in his life. But Pat was just, he was a fun-loving guy, and I laughed because I was in the locker room when my kids were young, and Pat's standing there playing for the NFL, big time safety, and I said, I've got to go potty, and he turns to me and goes, I don't believe you just said potty in an NFL locker room. I said, that's how you talk to kids, and he. Good point, Kev. So I've had a great life. I've been behind the velvet curtain or the VIP, and it was cool. But my life is way cooler now. The things I get, my God shots are way cooler than. I mean, it's neat. But my kids are mad because they want tickets to the Suns finals now, and Dad doesn't get those anymore. But they'll get over it. They'd rather have this dad than the other dad.
Awesome. All right. I have one or two more questions here for you before we close this up. And I want to go back a little bit to the perspective of a wife and of a family. So just last night, my wife came to me and asked me a question. She also works in an Anon program. And she sponsors other women and other people, spouses of addicts and everything. And she was asked this last night by one of those. This woman asked her, did your husband have a hard time understanding why I, the wife, was so hurt by his addictions? And she asked me that question also. And I was like, yeah, I totally didn't get it for a while. I thought, hey, what I'm doing is only hurting me. Mm-hmm. It's not hurting anyone else. So tell me a little bit about your experience with that.
Yeah, I don't think you realize it when you're going through it, because you're so selfish and you're thinking of, my job is just to be the breadwinner in this family, and that's it. And There's this story in the book where the tornado comes and hits and walks out, and it says, it doesn't look too bad. Well, all this destruction that it's caused of all those years, I'm so blessed that my wife stayed with me through all of this, because she should have left, and I've made my amends to her. One of the things she does say, though, is she's so glad now that she's not worrying about when she's going to get the phone call and it was a nightly basis. Because I didn't drink every day. I drank Monday through Friday. I took weekends off. I was like, because I was in sales, but she, and in TV, and then I'll just be a dad on the weekends, but I was so hungover and such a mess that I didn't really get to enjoy that time with my kids. And I've heard other alcoholics say, they'll sit there with their kids on the weekend, and now they get to enjoy that time with them and don't have to enjoy that time. And there was a lot of times when the kids are in the pool and I'm sitting there drinking and I'm hungover and I'm with them. Yeah, really good dad. Now I fully engage with them. But that destruction I caused, there's no way to repair that except my living amends, and that's every day showing up, suiting up, and being the best I can be, and being the understanding dad that I am. And I love that. My kids really do love me, and my wife really does love me. I think there's a love that's stronger than it's ever been. And I'm so glad. I mean, it's so part of this program. I don't want to let that ever go again because of that. And I think you, Justin, that's what you don't see it, man. You don't see it. You don't, and it's when you wake up and now you look back, and I don't regret the past nor wish to shut the door on it, but I have years to make up to those kids, and I may have damaged them in ways that I don't know. I may have, and I hope not. I ask my higher God that they see me and they see the life I live. They're Irish Catholic kids too. Not that I mean, come on, it could be Jewish, whatever. But they do laugh. They'll say, Dad, we're out and we'll be drinking. And I do think about it. Or they'll call me and say, hey, can you give me a ride home? Yeah, I do. So I hope that's helped them, but it's a disease, man. I mean, I fully believe the doctor's opinion. My wife was deathly allergic she was allergic to peanuts, and she had them years ago, and she's had the allergy her whole life. And I kissed her one night after I'd been in a bar and I'd eaten peanuts and her mouth swelled up. It wasn't that bad. And but now she carries an epi kit. It's gotten really bad. And it's the same thing with me with my alcoholism. It was bad, but it's progressively gotten worse. And I know it's busy doing push-ups, and I know it's busy in the gym right now, waiting for me to fall and to take hold of my life. And what I did to those kids, and even people that I was close to, and it hurts, but I can't change that except to live the life I live now. Justin, I think you know that, man. You know it.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. Do you have any specific strategies that you haven't maybe already shared already on how you slow the game down in your own life?
Finding things that allow me to take breaths, to slow the game down. I mean, you see the athletes, they'll get to the free throw line. They'll go through it's as simple as that for them in the game. But on a daily basis, if I'm overwhelmed, I pause when agitated. I used to pause when agitated and I was busy putting the silencer on the gun, or I was loading it, or I was ready to strangle somebody. I pause. Now, and it's growth, it's progress in the program that I realize when I'm starting to get over. I even told my wife this recently. As pathetic as this sounds, she took me to I've never been to Costco. I'm the one person in America who's never seen Seinfeld, never been to Costco until Memorial Day weekend. And I went. I was so overwhelmed and my anxiety. And I said, honey, I got to step out of here. And I was a realization of that this wasn't going to make me drink, but it's a realization of things like that, that that in everything, in work, overwhelmed by a big project. My kids call me. My wife bought a new car this week, and we went out car shopping, and that overwhelms me. But I take time to myself and find things that I can do. Maybe it's reading now, which I do read. Maybe it's just going for a walk. Maybe it's putting the headphones on and listening to a podcast or music to deprogram. Maybe it's just clicking through all the social media crap and laughing at some of that. So I try to, or ultimately, going to a meeting. Way, what a concept. I still go to meetings, and I have a schedule of meetings that I go to, but that doesn't mean that I can't just break out of that. And there's meetings every hour on the hour here in Arizona, and go to a meeting, and invariably I'll get to the meeting and be mad and listen and be madder because they're not talking about what I want them to, but I'll leave there feeling better. And somebody will have said something like, hey, I can't, he can, let him. And that's what I do. So I think that you'll find you, and Justin, you found those things that slow it down for you. It takes time. One of the things I do selfishly, and my wife pointed this out, I've covered Arizona high school sports for 41 years. This is not a plug, but it's what I do. I enjoy the people who are coaching and playing high school sports because it's still pure for the most part. I mean, there's some transfers and club ball and all that, but for the most part, it's still pure. You play for your high school. The coaches don't make any money. It's genuine. We tell their stories. And I do that for me. To share their stories allows me to feel good and slow the thing down for me. Because I'll tell my wife, I go, hey, Friday night, I'm going to go to 2 high school football games. Are you okay with that? She goes, yeah, I know. I know that's as much part of your program as going to meetings. It desensitizes me and puts me in perspective. So you'll find those things. And I'm sure you have too, Jay, that you just certain things that bring peace and joy to you in your life and wash out all the others.
Awesome. All right. Before I do my closing reading and we close out with a prayer to get us off into the day, do you have any final words of wisdom that you'd like to share with the listening audience here?
Well, I thank you for listening and seeking this out, because that's part of the higher power. I mean, I laugh. I go to my home group is a Sunday morning, 6:45 a.m. as you wake up, and it's the only day I'm allowed to sleep in during the week. So I know there's a higher power that is getting me there. I know there's a higher power that has guided me into this program. So it's obviously something got you here. I don't know if it's the Charles Barkley stories or because I'm so good looking. It's something got you here. And if you can take something from it, I hope they'll continue to seek and find and listen for the similarities in the stories. Again, you may not be a sportscaster and have those stories, but there's something in there where the demons, something is driving in your life. So that's all I hope. I hope you got something out of this. That's all I hope.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kevin. I did. And I hope that many others did. That was a great RICO 12 weekly speaker meeting for all addicts and those wanting to learn more about addiction and the recovery therefrom. If we didn't get to your question or you have other questions, please go to rico12.com/forum and join in our community and ask those questions and answer others' questions that will come up. I invite the audience to come back next week. If you have not yet gone to rico12.com and submitted your email address, please get on that invitation list so you can join us live each Friday at noon Central Time. Next week, we will be hearing from Gus H., a member of SLAA, whose topic will be around this very long phrase here that I got to boil down. Here it is. How turning your will over to a higher power only sucks if the God you are turning it over is a restrictive and austere God. It's a fantastic topic. I got to figure out how to boil it down, though. I'm excited to hear it. So anyways, let's launch off into the rest of our day with the 7-step prayer that I will lead us in. My Creator, I am now willing that you should have all of me, good and bad. I pray that you now remove from me every single defect of character which stands in the way of my usefulness to you and my fellows. Grant me strength as I go out from here to do your bidding. Amen. Keep coming back, everybody. It works when I work it, so work it. You are worth it.
landscape of this life of mine. Peaks too high to conquer, streams too wide to cross, troughs too deep to walk through without incurring loss. Yet here I am, still standing tall, despite the rough terrain. One like me survived the storms and walked through wind and rain. Still standing, I will fight the good fight. Still searching for glimmers of light. Feet still on the ground, I can still be found. Standing still.
I still can fly. I may not soar unfettered. I may not rise too high.
Recorded in the book of life and bind it with the sea.